Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, along with Katie Pavlich, Geraldo Rivera, Eric Bolling, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Hillary Clinton, desperate to get her email scandal out of the news, so she came up with something else to make the headlines. This.
Now, extreme views about women, we expect that from some of the terrorist groups. We expect that from people who don't want to live in the modern world. But it's a little hard to take coming from Republicans who want to be the president of the United States. Yet they espouse out-of-date and out-of-touch policies. They are dead wrong for 21st century America.
She compared Republicans to terrorists at a rally yesterday for their views on abortion and singled out several Republican presidential candidates. One of them was Marco Rubio, and here's his response.
She's desperate. She's panicked. Her campaign is in a bad shape. Her views are the ones that are radical. Here's what's most offensive about it. They won't call terrorists terrorists. Going all the way back to Benghazi and even before that, but they call their political opponents terrorists.
Clinton was at the DNC summer meeting in Minneapolis today, and Ed Henry was there with her. He's going to join us now. Before we go to him, I just want to play a little exchange that he had with Hillary Clinton today at a press conference, and then we'll get his take on it.
Were you aware that your husband wanted to give paid speeches to repressive regimes like North Korea? Do you have any comment on these new emails that have raised questions about conflict of interest involving your aide, Huma Abedin? And finally, I wonder if you said there's nothing unique about this situation. You've said that before. Can you name one other cabinet secretary who had their own server?
Well, let me answer one of your questions because I think that's what you are entitled to. Any request that my husband received to be sent to the State Department, to be vetted. So it didn't matter where it was coming from.
Ed, you are entitled to as much time as you'd like to respond to all of that.
Well, thank you.
Lots going on, and you're there at the DNC meeting. Catch us up on the day.
Well, look, Hillary Clinton has a mission here, and that ties into her answer to me, which is, if you read the New York Times today, it's Democrats, not Republicans, who are registering their frustration that she as the candidate and her team around her have just been wallowing this email thing and not dealing with it head on. Remember the jokes about Snapchat, the joke to me last week in Las Vegas about using a towel to wipe the server. A lot of Democrats, again, not her Republican critics, are saying those jokes fell flat, that the candidate didn't take it seriously. And so I think you heard in her answer, her trying maybe to be a little more combative with me and the press, trying to go on offense, not just sit back on defense. Frankly, that is also why she went after Republicans and threw out this idea yesterday that you played, comparing them to terrorists. She wants to get on offense. She's frankly tired of being on defense. But I do think that at one point in the news conference earlier, before my questions, she said something about how she's not frustrated with these questions. She's willing to answer them. And then a moment or two later tells me, you know, you're entitled to one question. That sounded like frustration and defensive-ness, and so it's a bit of a mixed message.
All right, Eric, you got a question?
Yeah, well, so that interchange with you, it reminded me a lot of when Jorge Ramos stood up and, you know, gave it back and forth with Donald Trump, and then you know, he was pushed back. Is she taking her cue from the GOP frontrunner?
No, I think to the contrary. She was attacking Donald Trump today. I was with her in Iowa a couple days ago. She was attacking Donald Trump. Frankly, I think that's part of the strategy I was talking about. Look, distract from her own problems. Go after the GOP. Yesterday was Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush on abortion and Planned Parenthood, the terrorism comparison about their approach to women. 2 days ago, as I mentioned, with Donald Trump, she went after him on immigration and other issues. And frankly, we heard that in her speech to the DNC members today. Because, look, she wants to show the DNC members, not only is she not pinned down on the email issue, at least that's she's what she's trying to claim, but she's ready to go after the Republican frontrunner. And what does that mean? Hey, guys, you don't need to bring in Joe Biden to rescue the party. I can take on Donald Trump and the Republicans myself.
Geraldo.
Hey, Ed, it's Geraldo. You know, I agree she's not pinned down on the email controversy. I think that her biggest sin in that regard so far is she's been so unpleasant and clumsy in her defensive posture. What I don't understand is how come you guys aren't looking more harshly at Clinton and his foundation and the first-class private jet travel and five-star hotels? It would seem to me that that would be pretty low-hanging fruit to show that here they've raised hundreds of millions and how much has actually gone to help the intended or announced beneficiaries.
Well, you know, I did try. One of the questions that I asked her was about Bill Clinton's speeches, which he was trying to justify, at least his representatives, and trying to convince the State Department to let him give these speeches tied to North Korea and the Democratic Republic of Congo, these repressive regimes, on the notion that, look, the money's not going to go in his pocket. It's going to go to charity. It's going to go to the Clinton Foundation. One of the speeches was to the tune of $650,000. So this is big money from entities tied to these very questionable nations, obviously. And so he was trying to tie it up in charity. So frankly, I'm just saying I was trying to get an answer from her. She didn't want to answer that. I agree with you. It may be low-hanging fruit, but frankly, there are not a lot of reporters out here asking Hillary Clinton about the Clinton Foundation. Today, at least, I was the only one who tried.
Katie.
Ed, what is the feeling at the DNC with Joe Biden talk? I mean, are people there talking about Joe Biden and maybe his entrance into this race? I mean, what are they saying there about his potential candidacy?
What's interesting is Joe Biden, of course, was not here, but the draft Biden people set up a suite in the DNC hotel behind me, and they're just handing out literature and bumper stickers and the usual political stuff you would expect. But there's a little party bus going by, so pardon me. Maybe they're getting ready for Hillary.
Friday.
They're going to the Twins baseball game. They're going to the Twins baseball game, and so maybe they're excited about Joe Biden, frankly. And I think what they're saying is look, keep your powder dry, DNC members, because Joe Biden is taking a close look. And frankly, I think what happened away from Minneapolis yesterday in D.C. when Joe Biden went behind closed doors with a labor boss, Richard Trumka, is a clear sign he's edging closer to this because he wants organized labor support. Hillary Clinton's gone behind closed doors with the AFL-CIO a couple of times, and so far they have not endorsed her. She wants that endorsement and hasn't gotten it.
Okay, this is the one question you've been waiting for all day. It's Gutfeld.
Oh,
I have a compliment, a comment, and a question. A compliment is nice tie. Just return it nicely to me. Comment, how unusual it is that she's accusing Republicans of not being in the modern world when she doesn't drive, and she claims she's completely ignorant of modern technology. She didn't know how to use a BlackBerry, but she's saying that they live in the Stone Age. My question is, where is Bill Clinton these days? Usually, you would assume that the future first man would be out there trying to help her or defend her, but it seems like he's. I'm just wondering what's he been up to or what's he into.
Well, you're right that it is a curious thing that Bill Clinton is not being used as a surrogate right now, maybe because it's early. And I think in fairness to Hillary Clinton, if Bill Clinton was out there on the road a lot right now, what would you and I be saying? Oh, boy, it's not about her. I guess it's about the former president. He's overshadowing her. He's the big dog. And so I think in fairness to her, she has an opportunity here to get out on her own and try and win this on her own, delegate by delegate. And that's why she's talking to the DNC behind me. But you raise a fair point about the modern age. Remember what we learned in one of the earlier email dumps, by the way, from the State Department, that Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin were having a hard time figuring out how to use a fax machine. They say that's because it was a secure fax machine, not a usual one that most people might have had. But obviously, not a lot of people use fax machines anymore, and she had a hard time using it. So you might have a fair question. By the way, I saw a campaign button out here in the last couple of days that referred to Bill Clinton as the first dude. So that might be the official title.
There you go.
Well, and Ed, to your question about Bill Clinton asking if he could go and give a speech in North Korea and the Congo, remember, it's not only Bill Clinton, it's actually also Hillary Clinton's brother is involved because he was going to North Korea. I don't know, with Dennis Rodman or whoever. I mean, obviously, like, you can imagine that the Hillary Clinton people are thinking, Bill Clinton causes a problem for Hillary Clinton over and over again because of a lack of judgment. Her lack of judgment has her now. We have the FBI A-team leading what they call an extremely serious investigation into the fact that she even had a server in the first place, plus the classification. I mean, is there frustration amongst any of the people that are there for the DNC meeting that she has created this era of inevitability, but she actually might be more vulnerable because of her own actions?
Yeah, I just talked to one of the DNC members in private who was telling me, look, this inevitability issue, she said that's what Hillary Clinton was trying to do in 2008, and it obviously didn't work against Barack Obama. So there are some DNC members here who feel it's curious that the inevitable argument, or if it's not an argument, at least the air of inevitability that the Clinton people want to have by suggesting that they're turning the corner and that Joe Biden may not get in. You saw this AP report that maybe people close to Hillary Clinton are urging Joe Biden not to get get involved, that they want to clear the field for her. Look, I think it's very clear that Hillary Clinton has issues moving forward. She's trying to turn the page on them. But you're right. When you bring Bill Clinton in, yes, he's a master politician, but he also brings in negatives like buck-raking, the money. Because remember what she said about a year ago about being dead broke when they left the White House. This speeches, the speeches of over 500, 600,000 a pop runs counter to that.
Well, and the foundation basically funds their lifestyle.
And can we just add to that? If they were willing to take $650,000 from North Korea, from Congo, and put it into the foundation, it begs the question of who else were they willing to take money from, putting it into the foundation, and what were they looking for in return?
Yeah.
And that's why Democrats are nervous about what else may come out. But I think we also need to point out on Hillary Clinton's side that, look, she's been taking all of these things one after the other on the foundation, the email. And yes, her numbers on being honest and trustworthy are underwater, even more underwater than they were a month ago. However, she still is at the top of the field, struggling in some states maybe against Bernie Sanders, but nationally, like Donald Trump on the Republican side, she is still the front runner. So she's taken the heat. There may be more coming, but despite that, she's still in the lead.
All right, last question from Geraldo.
Ed, you have a situation where Hillary now is suggesting that Republicans and conservatives are knuckle-dragging Neanderthals when it comes to women's rights. Is there a single high-profile woman in the town behind you who supports a Joe Biden run?
Well, I mean, people are not running around declaring their loyalties, if you will, but certainly Joe Biden would be somebody who could bring all kinds of female leaders to the table who, yes, are excited about the possibility of the first female president, but let's not forget that Joe Biden is the man who, in the Senate, as a man, got the Violence Against Women Act passed. We've heard Joe Biden out on the anniversary of that important act talk about it, speak out. He was chairman of the Judiciary Committee, as you know. So, look, we oftentimes assume, okay, somebody's a woman, they know more about women's issues. Somebody's a man, they know more about this issue. Joe Biden, I would suspect, if he gets into this race, will make the case that while he would not make history, obviously, as the first female president, he obviously has stood up for women for many, many years. So that is going to be a contrast he'll try to bring up against not just Hillary Clinton, but the others in the race, because long before Hillary Clinton was in the Senate, Joe Biden was working on these issues.
All right. Election Ed, I don't think we made you as uncomfortable as we usually do, and we're going to work on that for next time. But thank you for joining us.
All
right, next, Greg. The survivor of Wednesday's on-air shootings remembers every detail of the attack. That's according to her husband. What he says she did when the gunman started firing. And later, of course, it's Facebook Friday. Post your questions now on facebook.com/the5FNC. We'll be back in just a minute.